We are getting very close to having to start STAR review, so it's probably a good idea to start remembering how to solve equations. So that's what you are going to be doing today. Now I'm going to do several examples with you to remind you of how to do these kinds of problems. So let's start on number 3. Now you must show your work today to get credit, so if you just go through and you circle A and B, you're going to get a 0. You've got to show me some of your work here. So what I'm going to do first is draw a line through my equal sign. Now anytime that you see parentheses in your problem, the first thing you need to do is distribute. Now the negative 3m is not touching the parentheses, so it just moves down, but the plus 2 is touching the parentheses, so that's what we are going to distribute or multiply to everything inside the parentheses. So 2 times 2 gives me a positive 4, then 2 times positive 2m is positive 4m, and this is equal to negative 1. So after you distribute, then you need to combine some like terms. So you're only looking at one side of the equal sign, you ignore the other side. If I've got the same letters, I can combine those two numbers together. And remember that when you are combining like terms, combining means to add, so you can just take those numbers in front, negative 3, and add the positive 4 to it to get positive 1m. So I've got 1m, and you can put the 1 in front of it, but you don't need to, plus the 4 is equal to negative 1. So at this next step, so I distributed, I combined like terms, now I need to move the friend over. Now this guy is the friend because he's not attached to the letter m. There's a plus sign between them. So anytime you move the friend, you use the opposite of addition or subtraction. So the opposite of positive 4 is negative 4, and I do that to both sides right here. 4 minus 4 is 0, and that leaves me with the m on the left. And on the other side, what you're typing in, you just go in order, negative 1 minus 4. So it's a negative sign when it's the beginning of the problem, otherwise it's going to be a minus sign like that. So I hit enter and I got negative 5. So m equals negative 5 is my answer, which means that pirate is going to have a little eye patch. Let's flip it over and look at the other page, second page. Go to problem number 10. So for problem number 10, this one does not have any parentheses in it, so we're going to skip the distributive step. But I do have some like terms that we need to combine. So I've got a negative x and a negative 2x. Now remember that negative x really means negative 1, so the numbers that we are adding together or combining are negative 1 and negative 2, which gives me negative 3x's plus 2 is equal to 5. So whenever you've got two numbers on the same side with your letter x, this is going to be a two-step problem. So that's you, your boyfriend or girlfriend, and your friend is the third wheel. So at the end of the day, you want to get rid of your friend, the one who's not attached, first. And remember, when you get rid of the friend, you use the opposite of addition or subtraction. So 2 minus 2 is 0, and that gives us negative 3x is equal to 3. Then from here, the negative 3 is attached to my letter x. So on the next step, I'm going to divide. Now when you add or subtract, use the opposite sign, but when you divide, you keep that negative sign with it. And the reason that works is negative 3 divided by negative 3 is positive 1x. So we're not writing the 1, but it is actually still there. And then if you do 3 divided by negative 3, that gives us negative 1. So that means the answer for this one is A. Flip it over, let's look at the next page. Look at problem number 13. So this one does have a set of parentheses, so the very first thing that we are going to need to do is to distribute. Now the 6 is not touching the parentheses, so it needs to move down. And you are never going to do 6 minus 3 and then distribute that. That's not going to work. You've got to take care of distribution before you do anything else. Now the negative 3 is touching the parentheses, so that's what we are multiplying. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x, and negative 3 times 10 all the way over there gives me negative 30. And this is equal to negative 3. So after you distribute, the next step is to combine like terms. Now we don't have more than one letter over here, but I do have more than one constant, the numbers without the letters. And those are always going to be combined as well. So if I add 6 plus, that's not a 6, 6 plus negative 30, when I hit enter, I got negative 24. So I have negative 24, I still have the minus 3x over there, and this is equal to negative 3. So from here, we distributed, we combined like terms, now we've got a two-step problem. So if you're trying to get the x by itself, that makes the negative 24 the friend. We are going to add 24 to both sides of that equal sign. and I'm going to have to maybe move up here in just a second. If I add negative 3 plus 24, so negative 3 plus 24, that's positive 21. Okay. Now I kind of ran out of space, so I'm just going to continue this over to the side. Negative 3x is equal to positive 21. I just took that part and rewrote it over there. Now, I've got the negative 3 attached to the x. I divide both sides by that negative 3, which gives me positive 1 is equal to negative 7. So my answer is B. Number 15. Draw in your line through your equal sign. I've got a 2 touching the parentheses, so let's go ahead and take care of that distribution. 2 times 1x is positive 2x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. I've got my plus 3 that needs to move down and my negative 2x that needs to move down, and this is equal to 7. So after you distribute, the next step would be to combine like terms. Well, I'm combining positive 2x and negative 2x. So if you do that, 2 plus negative 2, that gives you 0. Now when you have 0 x's, you don't write them at all. So our x's are completely gone. Now the only thing I need to still do is combine these like terms. Negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1, and this equals 7. Now, 1 does not equal 7. That is not a true statement. And anytime that happens to you, your answer is no solution. Now, make sure that you realize this is not the same thing like if you ended up with x equals 0. X equals 0 is an answer. But whenever you've gotten rid of your x's in the problem and all you're left with is numbers, then your answer is either no solution or infinite solutions. But since 1 doesn't equal 7, that one's no solution. And I believe this is the only one that is like this on the assignment. That's why I chose to do that one with you. Now, I'm going to do one more with you. Look over at number 16. We've got to get that x by itself. So I'm going to draw in my line, have my arrow pointing at the letter. So in this case, the friend is the positive 2 because it's not attached to the x. There's something in between them. It's a positive 2, so we've got to subtract 2 from both sides of that equal sign. Now when you do that, 2 minus 2 is 0, but notice you've still got that negative sign with the x. You need to make sure that you still bring that down. And then over on the other side, I've got negative 5 minus 2. I hit enter. That gave me negative 7. Now we are not quite finished yet because negative x really means negative 1x. So in order to finish getting the x by itself, we're going to divide both sides by negative 1, which gives me x is equal to positive 7. So what I would like for you to do now is to finish the rest of the assignment, and then once you have finished answering all the questions, then you can start working on the face. Make sure that you show me your work, and guys, these assignments do not leave the classroom. If it leaves the classroom, you've got an automatic 0. I want to see how much work you got done during class. That's why I have you turn it in at the end of class. Have a great weekend.